Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge, and today we have The Island at the Top of the World. This is a Disney 1974 film. It's an hour and 34 minutes long. It is a big kind of action adventure. Maybe not so big on action, but definitely lots of adventure. There is some running and jumping and escaping attacks by people with bows and arrows and spears, and at the top of the world in a hidden enclave, an island of moderate temperatures surrounded by volcanoes that keeps away the cold, the frozen temperatures of the Arctic, where an entire civilization has existed for centuries. And our main characters, our heroes, are on a mission to rescue one of their own. It's basically headed up by a rich British guy who kind of gets whatever he wants. Pete treats everybody like crap, but he kind of has a soft spot once you get to know him a little bit better. But he's looking for his son who disappeared 2 years ago, and he's grabbed a professor who knows stuff and basically kidnaps him. Just sort of puts him on his boat and says, "Here, sign some papers, and I'll make sure that you're well compensated and everything's taken care of. It's lots of adventure. You could discover things. You're an archaeologist, right? Wouldn't that be great if you got to see this place that we're trying to go to, or I think my son is." And before he can even sign the papers, he's already on a boat that leaving England. So he didn't really have much of a choice. For a guy who waited 2 years to look for his son, he is in a hurry to get to the Arctic, to find something that may not exist and could probably kill him, because it's believed that his son not just disappeared but died when he went up to those forbidden realms in the snow and ice, in a storm with an avalanche and all sorts of stuff, snow everywhere. Just got rid of him. Why do they believe this? Because one of his guides, they use the term Eskimo, but that's the era. But it's one of those gentlemen from the local tribe actually returned and survived. And his story is that he tried his best, but the man's son, what's his name, Donald Ross, he never made it back. By the way, Professor Iverson, the professor that kind of gets kidnapped into this adventure, is played by David Hartman. If you are my age and have ever watched Good Morning America, yes, that is the same David Hartman. Super tall, toothy grin. Yeah. His job is basically just to provide exposition for the entire adventure. If somebody needs to say some broken, not English language, well, that's what he's going to do. He's going to translate, or he's going to speak to the people they interact with that are not English speakers. He is going to explain to you every single tradition, or he'll tell the weather. He is like Siri, basically, in 1907, in which this is when the story takes place. It is kind of in the tradition. This story is not from H.G. Wells or Jules Verne, but is very much in the tradition. There's an adventure in a dirigible. Okay, I cannot say that properly. Dirigible, or Zeppelin. You want to call it a Zeppelin? I don't know exactly what makes them different, but man, yeah, most of this adventure is just floating in an airship to the Arctic, which just doesn't sound like a really safe option. Yeah, we would know in 1907 that in 1912, the biggest ship ever at that point was going to sink because it hit an iceberg. But, let's take a flimsy airship into dangerous crosswinds into the Arctic. We'll survive the glaciers. By the way, a lot of this stuff, effects, is so... I mean, these aren't new effects processes, visual effects processes that are any different than others, but it kind of looks really cool for its time. There's so many matte paintings for the backgrounds, even some really close foregrounds. When there's a certain area where they're in a large room that has statues of certain figures in the background, you can tell it's a painting. That there's just real people just sort of populating the foreground of a room that is just a painting. Or if you see a large vista, mountains, sweeping mountains and rivers and a big open sky, painting. Big forest down here, painting. It's it's there's so much of this, but it's composited pretty well in most cases. Some effects have not aged well, of course, but it doesn't matter. The charm of that era is seen throughout, and I got to show you this, by the way. It's just that movies from this era always had fantastic posters like this. Even if the film was kind of, yeah. Look at this. Like, it's 1974. I'm going to see this movie. Like, that's a burning Zeppelin. There's like volcanoes and people running for their lives over here in the snow. What's going on? What is going on at the top of the world? There's an island up there. Doesn't make any sense, but we're going to find out in this adventure. By the way, one other little trivia thing in this. This is co-written by John Whedon. Yes, you know that name? It is Joss Whedon's grandfather. Yeah, the guy who created Buffy the Vampire Slayer and, yeah, directed 2 Avengers films. Joss Whedon, his grandfather, co-wrote this film. It's in the Whedon bloodline to write epic adventures, apparently. Although this one has almost no women in it. It has just one, and she is also a blonde. But while her role in this is purely functional as a romantic interest for one of the characters, and to help them escape an impossible situation, beyond that, she's not exactly a primary character. This is all very much a dude fest. It is, yeah. This is not one of those movies that's going to go, oh my gosh, this is, the greatest thing ever. But this is like a movie you would watch on a Sunday afternoon, just when you're just being lazy. You're going to turn it on some local TV network back in the 80s probably, and just enjoy it. I have a feeling I should have seen this at some point, but apparently I didn't. I would have been probably too young to go see it in the theaters, but I would have figured maybe it would have shown up on HBO or something at some point. I don't know. This is down my alley. I like these kind of adventures where it's you don't have to have time travel, but you kind of go back to another time through just finding a new hidden land. This is also, I like a lot of the similarities to the Marvel comics, because there's a thing called the Savage Land in the Marvel comics, but that is hidden in Antarctica. And I thought for sure that maybe one stole from the other, but the Antarctica Savage Land actually first appeared in Marvel Comics in 1965, and this is a 1974 film. And yeah, this is not a story by Jules Verne or H.G. Wells, but it's very much in the spirit of that. But when it comes to Marvel, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby introduced the Savage Land in X-Men 10, I believe. And even before that, there was a kind of a proto-Savage Land back in a Jack Kirby, Joe Simon comic back in 1941, right around when Captain America was introduced. But in a Marvel comic, even though it wasn't called Marvel Comics yet. So it's a whole diversion, but I had to do that research because I'm like, which came first? Who's borrowing from who? So it turns out that the Marvel one existed before this, but the Marvel one has probably been stolen from other stories in other literature from the past. So it's not a new concept, but it is a unique one. The one that happens in the Marvel comics, there's dinosaurs. They got dinosaurs and many tribes, and there's also scientific technology and futuristic stuff. There's all sorts. The High Evolutionary lives down there sometimes, I think. It's a mess. It's a mess. It's a land forgotten by time, and it allows the Marvel Universe characters to interact with dinosaurs without having to travel through time. So that was kind of cool. But when it comes to the island at the top of the world, what do they find? Well, it's kind of based on some of the adventures that certain Viking Nordic adventurers had some pathways they had taken in order to get to the that new world across the ocean. Nobody ever found an island at the top of the world that we know of, but it's a nice little what if they did, and guess what? An entire civilization has existed there, trapped for centuries, fearing to ever leave because the rest of the world has likely frozen over. That's why they can't leave, and this is just, it's a paradise. And again, when you see this place depicted, it's called, by the way, well, it's an early Nordic version of the word Asgard. Marvel uses Asgard, but they name this place Asgard, the home of the gods. So yeah, there's big statues to Odin and Thor and Freya. Another nice little Marvel connection. Even though they weren't borrowing from Marvel, they were borrowing from Nordic history. Please understand that I'm not saying that they're connected to Marvel. So anyway, it's if you like a good, just a simple adventure, a lot of this is man versus nature, man versus his own kind of hubris that gets him into more trouble than he can afford. And then, yeah, there's conflicts that would happen that didn't need to happen, but because people fear things they don't understand, well, guess what? Our heroes, I'm not going to spoil anything for this. Our heroes have to get to the island at the top of the world. And when they get there, well, guess what? They have to escape because things don't go well for them. Do they find what they're looking for? You'll have to see. You have to watch it. This is the kind of movie that, yeah, a lot of people have probably forgotten. There's some people there's a little cult following. There's talks of it for a while that it would have a sequel called The Lost Ones, but yeah, it just never happened because I don't think this one did very well at the box office. So it wasn't like I didn't know it. I feel like I should have seen it, but I don't recall. So I have to treat this as something new that I've never seen. But yeah, this is if you're looking for some adventure, looking for just a nice, clean-cut, it's another era type of adventure. It fits in with those all those Disney movies like the 20,000 Leagues, Under the Sea, and all the stuff where they composite with lots of background matte paintings with action, sometimes barely color corrected in order to make it look like it's the same scene. They do a lot of layering with. There's one scene in a cavern where there's huge fire pyres going on, and there's a man yelling at people. He's looking all purple. Like they put lights on him that make him look like the flames are all around, but it didn't work. It doesn't work. The effects for their age and for the way they did it they hold up a little bit pretty well. Others moments not so much, but it's still fun to watch. It's not going to be like, you're not going to come into this thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to be top of the line visual effects. No, you know better. And it's the fact that they are the way they are that makes it charming. So definitely, if you haven't seen this, or if you haven't seen it for a very long time, I don't think you're going to hate it, but it's not. And it's not going to be the greatest movie you've ever seen, but it's a good little thing to watch, curled up on the couch and sometime on a winter's day, with the family. It is a family film. But yeah, it's a good cast, a good amount of humor. Some elements that haven't aged well, the Eskimo thing, but it's yeah. What are you gonna do? There are worse films on Disney Plus right now. So, although I think when I talked about the remake, I have a feeling they never remade it. I checked to see if maybe there's something that was like a hidden kind of remake. No, it hasn't happened. But I have a feeling I could sort of see all these beats when I'm watching this film where I'm like, what if, Bruckheimer or I feel like Bruckheimer would get a hold of this and just ratchet it up, and somehow like Donnie Wahlberg would end up being like the professor, and the eccentric old rich guy would be Johnny Depp, and I don't know. It would just be it'd be some weird casting, and all the moments where like David Hartman, is just sort of walking through all of his scenes, providing exposition, would just be so much more punchy, and it'd be 2.5 hours long. It would just be spiritually, it would be a completely different film with a number of nods to each of the story beats. But yeah, there is a way to make this a better version of this film, but would people see it, and would people like it? Be aware that the Marvel Cinematic Universe, sooner or later, is going to introduce the Savage Land into the Marvel films somewhere, sometime. It's inevitable. Once that happens, then I can see Disney making their own island at the top of the world, because, oh my gosh, people love the Savage Land in the Marvel thing. We have our own Savage Land that we owned, but it's in the Arctic. Fun. All right, I'm going to spoil something for you. This is the last randomly selected thing for the rest of the year. Why? I'll tell you tomorrow. Let's pick tomorrow's episode. 4. Oh, boy. 4. Oh, okay. You know what? We haven't had a series in forever, and we do not have many series left. Yeah. This is the last. Okay, cool. We got a series knocked off the list. Whew. I'm going to tell you what it is. It's Ant Farm. Yeah, some of you may have grown up with that on the Disney Channel. I have not. I was too old for Disney Channel when it was in its heyday. If I had been watching it in its heyday, it would have just been a little creepy without having kids of my own. Yeah. Tomorrow I'll explain to you why that was the last thing I'm selecting randomly for the rest of 2025. Because December, I got plans. December's already figured out. And we'll get to that tomorrow. Ant Farm is what we're watching next on the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. I'll see you back here tomorrow with that. Bye. Oh no. Some of you probably watched the end of that sequence just before this and realized I looked at the wrong thing. Number 4 isn't Ant Farm. I don't know. I think I was hoping. It was number 4, right? 4. Crap. We're not watching Ant Farm. Sorry. I was just a little zealous of hoping to knock that out. We're going to watch a movie instead. If you scrub back just a little bit and see what that was. Well, I'm going to show it to you again right now if you don't feel like doing that. We're going to be watching one of the last 2 films that are of this franchise. Air Bud Golden Receiver. Nothing against Air Bud, but if you haven't been following along, check out some of the videos from John Oliver. They're making a new Air Bud. They're rebooting the franchise. We'll talk about that tomorrow after I watch Air Bud Golden Receiver on the next Disney Plus Everyday Challenge, for real this time. See you later.